Hey, I'm Marcus.
I'm Fetta.
We are Working Class Nerds.
Cue the intro.
That's right. We are Working Class Nerds, and this is episode 252.
Of the podcast that gives you no information about your favorite information.
Don't forget, if you're looking for more Nerds community content, and why wouldn't you, and you want to continue the conversation with us or just yell at me, join our Discord. The link is in the show notes below.
And in this week's episode, it's the A-Team. Marcus and Fetta. That's it. We're talking about video games. They can be pretty hard. Nearly impossible to beat. They can make you pull your hair out, smash controllers, monitors, yell at the top of your lungs. But are there some games that are just too hard? Do you think they should have an easy mode, Marcus?
I think we should find out. But, you know, something you said about today, it is really, truly about video games. And I've only broken one controller in my life.
That's shocking, actually. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. That's shocking.
I'm not a rager. Like, I might squeeze it, but, like, I've never... I've only...
Chucked it at the drywall?
No, I'm not a thrower. Like, I take my hands, because I have big hands, and I just fold it in half, and I snap it. And the only one that I've ever broken was a PlayStation 1 controller when I got into the inverted castle in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. And I was trying to go for this like rod. It was like a magic rod, but it like annihilated everything in one touch. And I was right there in the area where you farm for it, and I died, and I never saved it, and it was like 20 minutes back, and I just took it and went...
Cracked it right in half.
Oh, it done.
Bad chiropractor?
Yes.
Nice.
Yep. But that
Jeez.
the reason why we're talking about this is with the latest release of Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. There's been a lot of talks about, is it too hard? And I have my strong opinions. And Fetta, if you guys don't know, he plays a game hard mode, and it's car racing games.
Yep. I do.
He does full sim, and it is
I don't have the motion yet, so my seat stays the same, but we're getting there. As soon as I get an extra 10 Gs, I'll be running around with that, but I think we're a ways off.
Well, just the steering alone, and like how it hurts.
Yeah, some there are videos online of people that are actually like breaking their wrists because they've held onto it for too long after they spun out. It's pretty crazy.
Like, you just got to let go of the wheel and let it do its thing.
You're not going to get hurt otherwise. You get hurt more if you hold on to the wheel.
Right.
But
what are you drinking?
Buffalo Trace.
Ooh, tasty.
Yeah. So, for whatever reason, and this is kind of pretty off topic, but I listen to Spotify, and their summer hits for 2024 has a lot of that country pop, and I'm starting to kind of jam with it. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's always talking about drinking whiskey and having a good time, and I was listening to it on the way home, and I was like, you know what I'm going to go do? I'm going to drink some whiskey and have a good time. So, I am a sheep when it comes to pop music.
Really?
Oh my god. Sabrina Carpenter, like, that's my jam.
I'll
let it fly.
I can't do country music, dude. Country music is like nails on the chalkboard, but there's a but here. But I love bluegrass.
Well, that's not country music. That's its own thing.
I know.
And I am in the same boat as, like, I don't like country westerns. I don't like early 2000s. Like, when you're getting to, like, the Tobey Maguire... Or, not Tobey Maguire.
Toby, show me the money.
What the hell's his name? Tim McGraw. I watched all three Spider-Men this week. Oh, God. Anyway.
Oh, that's Jerry Maguire I'm thinking
That's Jerry Maguire.
But no, I understand what you're saying, but I really like, even like country pop, I can't do it, dude.
It's starting to get to like, there's like rappers involved, and Post Malone has been doing a whole bunch of country songs, and that's what really kind of lit the fire for me.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway.
What'd you do this week, dude?
All right, so the big news is I'm selling my house. First and foremost, that's probably the biggest thing that's going on in my life. It hit the market today. So big changes incoming for myself and the casa. Kids, everything. Yep.
Up and at 'em.
Yep. It's time. The town we live in is awesome. It's just really, really, really expensive to live in. And when your realtor tells you, hey, you've been talking about selling your house for a year, now is the time. You
got to pull it. Yeah.
You got to pull the trigger. Is uncomfortable as it is, it's just time.
Yeah.
So, I did that. I did play a shit ton of video games. I'm going to get to that in a second. The last thing, as you guys have been making fun of me or listening and making fun of me at the same time, I've been training really hard to play hockey. Last Sunday, I had tryouts for the hockey team.
Did you make the cut?
Oh, yeah. So there's a story behind this. So a guy I work with plays at this rink all the time, and he told me about this league, and it's called the Foundry Novice Draft League. Okay? So basically, they have their adult learn to play every Wednesday. Mm-hmm. It's a 6-week program. You basically have to do 12 weeks of that, and then they let you into this league. In the league lasts, I think it's 2 months. So there's probably like six sessions a year. Mm-hmm. It's either 4 or 6 sessions. I'm not really sure. So what I'm saying is I didn't do their learn to play thing because I've been playing by myself with friends and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I signed up 2 months ago, and I signed up. I paid, I think it was like $190.
Not bad.
No, for 2 months. So call it $200.
Yeah.
$100 a month, $25 a week. You're
That's
basically
including
paying,
rink time?
that is the rink time.
That's a steal.
Right. So it's basically, I bet it's because they do it because there's so many people that it just adds up. Yeah. You know what I mean? 200 people times 50 or 75 people.
Yeah.
That's where the money is. Mm-hmm. Me individually, I have to give $15, I think, this week for the ref for the season. So whatever. But anyway, so basically, so I showed up. I was like, hey, Marcus. And they're like, yeah, I'm not sure you can play in this league. And I was like, what? Isn't this a beginner's league? Well, not really. It's kind of an intermediate league. And I was like, wait, that's not what I was told about this league. And she's like, well, you didn't go through our Foundry learn to play. I was like, no, I did it at another rink, which was a complete and fucking total lie. Yeah. And I was like, but I've been skating like I'm no pro. Well, we got to make sure. And one of the coaches was behind her, and she was like, just let him play. If he's too good, we're going to tell him he can't join this league. And if he's terrible, we're going to tell him to learn to play. So just let him skate. So immediately, if you guys know me, I was immediately irritated.
Yep.
And I got in the locker room, introduced myself to the guys in there, and I told them the story. They were like, what? That is not what this league is. We've never considered ourselves intermediate hockey players.
Oh,
so
God.
I'm like,
Karen up front's got the wrong memo.
Yeah, Karen up front. So I instantly have a chip on my shoulder. Like,
probably worked out pretty good.
And I was irritated. I'm like, fuck this lady. I'm going out there and fucking doing it. So anyway, so we get out on the ice, and mind you, I've never skated on a full sheet of ice before. I've never skated on super smooth ice. So like going out on that was like, I felt like I was like graceful, like striding, and I was like floating because the ice was so nice and it was so big. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So we skated around basically like a 3-minute warm up, whatever. We went back and we went back to the they called us over and they were like, hey, we're going to do this first. We're going to do some drills. Everybody get over here. So we all skate over there. Everybody's like skating slow. Nobody's like, and I can tell some guys aren't as strong of a skater than me. And they're like, all right, who wants to go first? I raised my hand. I was like, I'll go first.
Christ.
I was like, I turned to the whole group because it was tryouts for last names A through L or A through M, and then N through Z were the second session. And I was like, don't worry, everybody. I'm going to eat shit so you don't have to. Everybody laughed and chuckled. And so we were doing the tryouts and everything was fine. But then we had to do figure eights around all the circles on the rink backwards, which I can skate backwards. I'm not worried about. I'm not great at skating backwards, but I can do it. And some of the other people there were struggling. Like, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to be fine in this league. You know what I mean? Like that was the point where I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So basically they rank, so every hockey player is ranked 1 through 12. I'm guessing if you're a rank 12, you're an NHL or a college D1 player. That's my guess.
Okay.
Or maybe whatever. So this league is made for ranks 1 to 3.
Okay, yeah, so 12 is top notch.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Okay.
Yeah, like, so anyway, so I made the team. My team is called the Blue Line Bandits. Yeah. That's
I
the
wish
team.
you guys could have just seen my face. Oh, God.
No, the best. I wish I was on another team. Hold on. There's the Rink Rascals.
I'm with that.
The Net Ninjas. This is the best one.
Saying that.
Yeah, Net Ninjas. The best name, and I didn't get it, is the Puck Pirates.
Yar.
So I am.
When's the trade deadline? You might still get a chance.
Well, so they said I have to email them if I want to sub for a team. But
Okay.
I don't know if I don't know if I want to sub because like that means like I could play 2 games in one day, and I don't know if I can handle that yet. Like I've never played an actual game before. I suggest I sub. Let me see how I do after a game. So the first half of the tryout was just practice, and then we did a scrimmage. Okay, bro. It was 12 people on each side. We had 24 people.
Jeez.
Bro, I was smoked after like 3 shifts. And I'm like, and I got to do this for an hour? I'm not even going to be able to move. I was sore for 2 days after.
Okay. Is this full contact?
Oh, shit. Read your text message.
Ooh.
So a little bit of context, everybody. Rhaiu is sitting on the beach drinking whiskey with all of his family.
He's having that Southern family reunion.
Yeah, so with they all every year one of them buys the new belt buckles and they just wear belt buckles.
That's it. Nude beach.
And then Nick had to bring his dog back to the ER, so hopefully everything is okay there.
Yeah, we're drinking one for her tonight.
Sure thing. So anyway, long story short, tryouts went great. All right, it's game time. I have been playing a shit ton of Elden Ring. So I finally, after all this time, we are live. Let the games begin. My house is officially on the market.
You heard it here first.
So buy it and give us a lot of money. Anyway, so I've been working through the Ronnie quest line. Ronnie, my sexy tarnished witch. Anyway, and so I finally made it to this place called the Lake of Rot. And this said Lake of Rot is the most fucked up place in a game I've ever played because everything, if you touch the water, you are basically like super poisoned.
Ew.
And it's fucking awful.
So it's like Bridgeport.
Worse.
Worse than Bridgeport, Connecticut?
Yes.
Yikes.
Anyway, so I've done that. I've actually, like, you pick up this like miniature Ronnie doll, kind of like the one you made me, and it you go, when you sit at a site of grace, you can talk to it, and you get more lore about her and like the background of her and all this. It's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So I progressed through the Lake of Rot, did that, and now I'm at this boss. Oh, shit, I forgot.
You should look up one of Sweet Johnny Cage's boss guides.
Ronnie Quest boss. Images. Yes, it's this thing. What is this thing called? God damn it.
Something the Forsaken.
Estelle. So it's basically like a fly scorpion.
Ew.
And its tail is like gravity bubbles. Boss fight. What the hell is it called? What the hell? Ronnie. Boss fight. I'm trying. This is going to bother me. Dude, what's up with everything asking me for cookies? Defeat. Oh, yeah. Estelle. God damn it. Yeah, defeat Estelle, natural born of the void. So, picture like a fly. Here, I'll link this to you, and it's number 17. Fetta. For people listening, I'm putting it in the Riverside chat. There it is. Go down to number 17 and 18. Oh, no, 18. Okay. So, Estelle, it's like a cross of a scorpion and a fly, and it's got like two pinchers at the front. And this boss is messing me up because, and I would say the hardest part of this boss is the camera angle, because it's so big and you're fighting underneath it. The camera angle sucks, and like you can't see when it's doing its like gravity moves or anything like that. But it's cool. I think I've died 5 times on the boss.
So far.
What I did like doing is I fought her a couple. I'm calling it a her. I fought her a couple times, and then I left and went back and explored some of the Lake of Rot. And let me tell you, the Lake of Rot sucks. I found another boss, and it like knocked me off the edge, and it was like 11 o'clock at night, so I just went to bed, and I'm like, whatever. But now that I've done it, I can craft these things that allow you to drop the Scarlet Rot, but I don't have any more, so I have to go find the stuff to make it so I can craft more. Wah, wah, wah.
This thing looks intense, dude.
Oh, dude, it's crazy. If you watch the Sweet Johnny Cage fight of it, it's pretty rad. I'm not gonna lie. The area that you're fighting it is actually really cool because you're like under the stars. You're in like shin deep of water, ankle to shin deep of water, and you're running around. And as you're running, it's making that like you can hear your footsteps running through the water. And this thing makes some really cool noises. The music is awesome. Shout out to Sweet Johnny Cage, who has told me to always listen to the music in the game because it is that good, but I just never do. But other than that, it's really been a lot of Elden Ring and a lot of Elden Ring. And I've been watching a lot of Elden Ring. Like the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC stuff has really been intriguing to me because it's just good. And like I like watching it, and I like listening to people complain and bitch about it, and that's what kind of gave us the topic idea for this week.
Yeah. No, it's super timely.
Super. So, Fetta, what have you been doing?
A ton of stuff. Not really gaming related per se, but I am just coming off an absolute bender of a weekend where I was up in Watkins Glen, New York for the International Motorsports Association 6-hour endurance race. So I believe A-Trax has followed them in the past, but sports car racing, 6 hours, road course, Watkins Glen. I partied out there for 3 days. I left shortly after we finished recording the podcast last week and didn't come back until...
Wait, you left Thursday night?
No, early Friday morning.
Oh, all right.
But drove up there and then didn't get back till the wee hours of Monday morning. Absolute fantastic time. My body just recovered yesterday, I'd say.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was a good time. But it was also, like, unseasonably warm. Like, 13, 14 degrees higher than normal, plus humidity. So it wasn't all fun and games for why I was exhausted for multiple days after. But it was an absolute great time, and I can't wait to go back next year. In the world of tabletop news, I actually just got back from my local game store. They moved locations and are going, like, super grand. So they needed some help before they finally opened up, did, like, a soft opening tomorrow morning. So I went and helped up, fixed up some shelves, tacked some stuff to the wall. It was a really good time. Everybody gets together to kind of help this business succeed because they are kind of going over the top just for the gaming community. So it's kind of important for me to be there.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great time. And I am in the process of painting up a little housewarming present for them in the form of a Battle of Endor themed table for Star Wars Shatterpoint.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's right behind me. I'm getting pretty excited to see that on the table and see other people using it. Because despite the beautiful shelf that you built me, I have already surpassed it.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So it's time to start giving some stuff away.
Really?
I swear to God.
Even with the 2 extra shelves you're going to
add? With the 2 extra shelves, I'll be able to space it out how I want it. But this terrain is like, there's one piece that's 2
you
feet
can't
tall.
put the terrain in it.
No, it's not. I'm not giving away minis yet. I'm not even really good at painting those yet. But the terrain, it's not going to sit in my closet because nobody comes over here to play it. And if they do, it's once every 6 months. So it'll get... It's well-deserved table time at the store.
I understand. So what I'll say to that is I can understand that. If you bring it to the store and it gets used, that's what it's there for.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And as we all get older, it's harder and harder to have time for, like you said, for people to come over and actually play a game.
Yeah, and even if that were the case, like if I wanted to have you or Nick or somebody come over and play the game, I would actually probably just have us meet there because it's equal distance.
Yep.
And, I mean, at the end of the day, all of my freaking terrain is there because I painted it all. So what's the difference if it's in my basement versus that store? And one of the upgrades that the store is doing is they're doing like a bar.
Okay.
So we could drink and play games at the store.
Well, that's a different story, too.
Exactly. So it becomes more of an experience. So I think it's good. Plus, they hook me up quite a bit for the painting I do for them. So it's not just always volunteer. This one is, but I paint up a lot of stuff for them. So it's good stuff. But yeah, I also tortured my wife this week by making her watch the Tobey Maguire, which is why he was on the brain, Spider-Man movies and she's actually loving them. So,
Really?
Yeah. I'm pretty excited to keep that train rolling with Venom and Carnage coming up next. But that's been my week.
You know, you said it wasn't a lot about gaming, but everything in your list is gaming.
Not video games.
That's okay. Like McCullough from the AIE podcast, she used to play video games. Now all she does is D&D and roll dice. That's still gaming. It's just not video games. And I don't feel as if you have to play a video game to game. Like I've had some of the most fun playing board games.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's gaming, but I didn't unfortunately do any actual gaming. It was just being around the subjects.
You know, do you think you're gonna need a new 3D printer?
I don't know. Actually, it reminded me because I was supposed to go check on one that I had set before I left today. So who knows what's down there? I'm trying out a new resin, and it seems to be a little bit thicker and heavier, so all the stuff keeps falling off of the supports, and I basically just get a bunch of sticks of resin instead of the actual minis that I want.
Okay.
So a little trial and error is going to be coming out, you know, that whole thing. And my other printer, the Ender 3, the one that you'd see, like, all the, like, weird rainbow-colored dragons that people fidget with, the thing that prints that, I can't get that thing to work for the life of me.
How much is a really good printer?
Like, which kind? Like, the resin kind?
Yeah,
for
resin.
minis?
Because that's all you really want, right?
I like both, but the resin, I probably say like $400, maybe.
Oh, that's not terrible.
No.
I thought they were like $5,000.
Fuck that, dude. $450. You can get one for like $800. It'll do exactly what you need. You won't be able to like sell the stuff, but you'll be able to have it nice enough to where you can have your own things. The money is in the resin and then in the files because I don't know how to sculpt anything. So I have to pay other people to make these beautiful models for me, and then I print them. So it can get dicey. But,
what do you mean by that?
So, like, there are a whole bunch of services online. I try to go directly through Patreon to find creators of people that model these things online. So, like, with Ronnie, I found that from somebody who sculpted it, and then I just printed it. And you pay for those files so that you can, you know, print it out, paint it, do what you want with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Some are free, some are paid.
So it's almost like my wife, whenever she does stuff for the cricket, like she'll make shirts and stuff for the cricket, she'll have to she'll have to buy that file for the design.
Exactly. You're buying the designs.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, compared to some of the Warhammer boxes, like you could buy a Warhammer starter set for $250. It'll come with 25 models. So it's like $10 a model, which is actually a really good deal. But you can spend $500 and end up printing yourself 100 models. And then you just need to spend another $20 and then get another 100 models. So it pays for itself in the long run, at least if you're me.
No, for sure. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The other kind, like my Ender 3, is way more accessible. And that's the kind that you can use to prototype different things. Like if you need a bracket for your car or for your shelf, or if you needed a piece for a specific tool, like you can print them out on that. I think that one has a lot more utility because the resin itself is quite fragile. But the detail is insane. So that's why it's my favorite.
So you basically, in order to do it right, you need two different machines.
Yeah. Like, I'll build the terrain and the play pieces on the other one, the FDM printer, which is the filament one.
Yep.
They're sturdier. They can be bigger for cheaper. And then for the really detailed minis, you get the resin one. and that's why I have both on a table downstairs.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm. And I can't say that I paid for these because these were both gifts. So
the next one's going to hurt because you're going to actually have to buy
Oh, yeah, it's going to be bad. But it's going to happen. The Bamboo Labs came out with like a really nice one that's essentially plug and play. You don't even have to mess with it. And you can do multicolored filaments, so I actually don't even have to prime it, sand it, paint it, that whole thing.
Bamboo Labs X1 Carbon.
Yep. That's the baby.
Oh, damn.
It's slick, and it's fast.
Oh, damn. $700. $1,500.
Yeah. It's a mortgage payment, dude.
Wow.
You got to print a lot to make your money's worth for those. But at this point, I'm ready to pull the trigger because of how much of a nightmare this other one is. That only cost me $170.
Yeah, but this thing is nice. So everybody, just because you can't see it, this one that is $1,500 on sale for $12.99 right now has the reels of resin at the top, and it automatically feeds in, where the other ones, you have to feed them yourself.
Yeah, this one's like also climate controlled because mine dry out all the time. And you can do color shifts on those. So if you had little pieces that need to be a certain color, instead of taking the whole thing out, taking it apart, changing the rule of filament, it just does it automatically.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and you'd never have to worry about making sure the bed is level because it does it automatically, which is... I'd probably pay like 10 grand for that at this point.
Wow, that's crazy. Some cool stuff, man. I'm looking at all the stuff. Oh, speaking of cool shit, everybody, the Steam summer sale is started. So make sure if you want some discounts on games, now is your time. I got notification that like 8 games on my wish list are all on sale.
I know. I'm so excited, but also so scared.
But see, I'm not actually worried about it because there's only like one game I really want to buy, and that's the Mass Effect Legendary Edition because it's $6. I don't think I own it yet. I might have already bought it, but if there's anything that I would buy, it's probably that. I have a bunch of games that I own that I've never played.
Oh, I think that's a problem with everybody who has a Steam account, really.
Right.
But I get sucked into the trap of, it's only $5, and then I do that 10 more times.
I don't have it. Yeah, so it's $5.99 for the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Like, that is not a bad 90%.
You can't even go to Starbucks for that.
No, I added it to my cart. Continue shopping. Meanwhile, the Steam sale is always a good... You can always find a good game to play for cheap. And I always say that's the time. If you want to play a game, that's the time. So normally we would take a break, but I know I don't have to pee because we haven't been doing this that long. And with Nick gone, I guarantee Nick right now is probably peeing somewhere. That's for
absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, he's
like clockwork.
Like clockwork is right. So as we just move on, today we're discussing if games should have an easy mode or if some games are just too difficult. When do games get too difficult and why? And again, I'm going to circle back before I let Joey go his opinion. Is the reason why we talked about this is Shadow of the Erdtree just came out. And they are... I'm trying to think of the way to say this. People are complaining that the bosses in the DLC are so hard just to be hard, and they're not fun Like, they'll give an example. In one of the fights, you basically dodge for 20 seconds for the one chance to be able to hit the boss. And then you have to dodge again for 20 seconds to be able to hit the boss. And Asmongold said it perfectly. He goes, the DLC is a perfect 10. But the difficulty scale is turned up so much, and it's almost like it's too much. It's not fun. Like, even if you love Soul games, it's beyond the get good mentality, basically. So then that got us talking earlier in the week about, okay, should a game have easy mode? Or a difficulty, like multiple
Should it be
difficulties?
adjustable?
Yes. Let me ask you that question first.
Yeah.
Do you think a game should have multiple levels of difficulty?
Absolutely.
Okay. Why?
So I thought you were going to go first.
Oh, I can go first. So my mind has changed over the time. I think a sports game should have different modes. So, like, I'm going to call it classic mode. Classic mode is when, like, X is shoot, B is pass, A is something.
Yeah.
Or sprint or whatever. Like, classic controls. Where, like, new controls are, like, the right stick, you have to snap it back and snap forward, and that's how you shoot. You know what I mean? Like, whether you're shooting basketball, kicking a soccer ball, and, like, if you take the right stick and, like, do, like, a whirly, they'll, like, do some fancy footwork or hand stick handling and, like, NHL hockey, something like that. Like, let's say that's different. I believe you should have that choice on how you want to play it, right? That I can agree with.
So you're talking about actual controls and mechanics.
Correct.
Okay.
So, like, I believe that choice doesn't change the difficulty, but it allows accessibility.
Okay, I'm with you.
Right? Because,
Yep.
like, if you're a young gun like you're used to, like, playing NHL hockey and using the stick to shoot.
Right.
Because that's how you grew up. I'm old as fuck, and I'm used to holding X, and that's your slap shot.
Okay.
So there's nothing wrong with me doing classic mode versus you. Now,
I can see that.
also, too, they have difficulty scaling for AI, where you can have an AI who's doing, like, super passes and, like, 3-pointers all the time, all that stuff. So I can understand having easy mode on a sports game. But I do believe some games shouldn't have that choice. What I mean by that is Elden Ring, I'll use an example because that's what I'm playing now. I don't believe Elden Ring should have an easy mode.
Okay.
Because that's the type of game it is. And if the developers tune the game too high for the DLC, well, they are planning on you going into that DLC at top level because you've been playing the game for 2 years, and you need to re-level to be able to beat the DLC easier. It's basically a whole new game. Now, are the mechanics of the bosses unforgiving and almost not fun? Sure. They probably need to tweak it a little bit. But it's meant to feel like, even if you're level 600, you're meant for it to feel like you're level 1 going into the DLC, so people aren't blowing through it. But where my stance has changed is that I believe that back in the day, all like Mass Effect, all those games, I played it for the story. I played it on easy. I didn't want to get pissed off at the game. I wanted to enjoy the game. But now I believe that I want it to be a little harder and earn those story pieces.
But is that because you've gotten more skilled at these games?
No, I'm worse.
Okay. You just think you really have to earn it.
Yeah.
to get that satisfaction.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you try to kill a boss in Elden Ring 100 times or 70 times, and you just keep dying and dying and dying, it actually gets really, really frustrating. But when you get the win, it feels amazing. So during the time you're fighting that boss, you hate the game. But when you beat it, you're like, this is the best game ever. Because I figured it out. You know what I mean? But in Mass Effect, I always just loved playing the game. Didn't care about difficulty.
Well, I mean, so that kind of goes back to your original point on certain genres of games could have different levels of difficulty or accessibility.
Sure.
Based on the overall goal of the game. Just like there's a video game for everybody, there's a class of video games that should be geared towards those competitive, like really technical players, something like Shadow of the Erdtree. But for someone like me, that is so unattainable, and it almost turns me off. Like, I'm never going to buy that DLC. I don't care if I beat Elden Ring. Just because it's that hard. And could that change? Possibly. Could I get better at the game? Maybe. You'll
definitely get better. If you keep playing it, it took me like 50 or 60 hours to figure out what it actually was.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
But, like, I can only think of, the working class nerds. If you only have 2 hours a day, not even, maybe you have 2 hours a week to get behind a controller. That's just not going to fly. So you need to be able to tone it down so you can get that enjoyment and the satisfaction of completing something.
So I can agree with you. I'm thinking about what you're saying. I can agree with you, but I guess as I get older and like as I'm playing Elden Ring, like if I can only play Elden Ring for 3 hours and I don't beat that boss in those 3 hours, it's okay to me. Like I want to beat the boss, but like I'm enjoying playing the game for the first time in my life and I'm not rushing to the end.
Yeah. No, I can see that point as well, but I'll tell you right now that if I was sitting in your chair trying to beat the same boss for 3 hours and then I can't touch it again for a week and a half, it's going to drive me insane. I'll probably never pick up the game again. I actually don't think I've played Elden Ring in 2 weeks.
It happens.
Yeah, it does. But when I pick it up, I'm going to get my shit pushed in the second I turn it on because I forgot the dance.
Yes. Yeah.
I know that going into it, but I mean, would it be nice to kind of, take a step back and try and learn the mechanics again with a little bit of easy mode? Yeah. And then I crank it up when I'm back into it.
Yeah.
But I don't think we talked about this, but in games like Diablo, when you beat it, right? Mm-hmm. Then you get like nightmare mode and hellfire nonsense and everything to make it sound awful, but it's just like new game plus type stuff. Mm-hmm. What's your stance on that?
Well, New Game Plus is fine. I believe that if you beat the game in whatever you want and you want to play it again and you want to go into a harder difficulty, that's acceptable. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, that is fine.
But that's basically like having an easy mode. Because the way I took this, like your side of the argument was, the game is going to be as hard as the people who made the game want it to be. Beat it or don't.
Right, but if you beat it and you want the challenge, again, to go back and do New Game Plus or whatever they call it, I don't see a problem with that. Because it's going to be harder the second time around, except you're going to have all of your shit that you had from the time before.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, but
I
don't know.
I played like I said, I've always like Jedi. What was the first? Not Jedi Survivor. Fallen Order. I played that on easy and I loved it.
Right.
Because that was a story heavy game and I cared more about the story than the dumb ass
Inquisitors.
yes. And the fights itself. But if I was to play Fallen Order now after playing Elden Ring, I would probably play it on the hardest difficulty.
Right, because you want that level of challenge.
Right, but at the same time, but if I got pissed off at it and it was stopping me from continuing the story, I would probably turn the difficulty down.
So ultimately, it depends on the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Have you ever played a racing game on easy?
When I was a child, yeah. Yeah. Like when I was playing Forza 2 on Xbox. Yeah, I played it on easy mode, but that's because I had the controller. I couldn't handle it if I turned it up. You know?
Yes. But that's my I guess at the end of the day that's the big question is do you see yourself not playing a racing game in full sim?
I don't, because I'm fortunate enough to have the equipment and the time behind it to attack it as I'm going to sit in a pretend race car. But I understand that not everybody has that ability. So, like, the big thing, if you're online and you do these racing sims and you're on the Reddit pages and things like that, the big kind of ha-ha is if you use what's called the racing line. So it's like that virtual green arrow on the track. It tells you exactly where you're supposed to put the car, when you're supposed to hit the brakes, and when you're supposed to hit the gas again.
Mm-hmm.
If you use that, you are trash.
Really?
Trash to society. You cannot put that on there if you're trying to do real sim. Because it doesn't exist. Like, you have to learn the track yourself. People get shit on so bad when they post, like, help me with this lap time thing, and first they have the racing line on. No one will comment anything other than turn the fucking racing line off. Because you're garbage.
Ooh. Your
But
ass.
It's
Your
straight up.
ass.
They're like, why don't you just uninstall it if you're going to use that?
Well, so going with that, that's how I feel about using summons in Elden Ring. Like,
I think that's an integral part of the game, dude.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm like I suck if I use it because I can't beat the boss alone.
That's a you problem. That's
Yes.
not a game problem.
No, I agree that. I agree. 100%.
All right. Gee, I'd be lost if I didn't have my lone wolves. Are you kidding me? It's my
doesn't bother
expendable
you?
distraction.
Yeah, but doesn't bother you that like the lone wolves get the final kill on the boss?
They don't. I throw them out there so I can see the moveset of the person before I die.
Oh shit.
I'm like, here, play with my dogs. And I'm like, all right, now I know what I'm supposed to be looking at. And then I still get rocked with the thing at a half health. Especially because by the time the dogs are done, it's phase 2 of the boss, and it's a waste of my time to begin with.
See, where I can see the difficulty scaler is in a Call of Duty story, right? Like you have a Call of Duty story. Sure, you want to just go through and get the story and get it over with. Sure, easy mode. You want it to be a little harder. The harder just means when a bullet hits you, you're going to die.
So you don't feel like that's a worthwhile scaling of it?
No, I just feel like the bullets get stronger. That's the only difference.
There's usually more of them, too.
Well, of course.
But, no,
Yes.
I mean, and that goes back to what types of games really need that difficulty adjustment, you know? I don't think first-person shooters necessarily need it.
That I agree with. But like fighting games, I do believe they should. Because if you're a pro Mortal Kombat player, you can play it on ultra hard or whatever it is. But if you're just a noob that's going to just hit A and B and X and Y and mash buttons, easy mode is perfect for you.
Yeah, no, that's straight up the only reason my wife has gotten into video games. Like,
Really?
she is a huge Harry Potter buff, right? That is her bread and butter, her favorite thing. So when Legacy came out, I was like, you know what? You should really try it. Somebody who never plays video games ever except for GTA 5 when they were in high school. And that's just to, like, mess around. But I made her come back to it, and she was getting really frustrated on the normal mode. I couldn't get through it, and I was like, just turn the difficulty down. And she was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I can beat this. And I said, all right, fine. Struggled for a little while longer. And I said, just turn the difficulty down. She did, beat the game, fell in love with the game, went through it, did it on normal, and now she's on a hard playthrough. I think it's her 4th playthrough of the game.
Really?
Something crazy. I looked at my Steam time, right? Because she uses my account.
Sure.
I think in the last year I've had like 260 hours across all of my games. Legacy has like 220.
Damn. But that's about to change.
Yeah, it is.
On July 2nd.
On July 2nd.
The nurse
3 in the morning.
No, I thought it was 3 in the afternoon.
No, it drops at midnight Pacific time.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
The
by
Red
the
Bulls
time I
will be
wake
flowing.
up by the time I wake up in the morning, the servers will allow me on.
Yeah, exactly. Rhaiu will be max level, and you could jump in.
So what we're talking about, everybody, is the first Descendant. If you're a part of our Discord community, which you should be, it's been blowing up as the time gets closer. We got a lot of people taking time off of work to come play. A lot of people are really, really, really excited for this game. I would call this game a Destiny-esque third-person Warframe game.
I don't think that's inaccurate. That's nice. That's a good way to put it.
And the game is using Unreal Engine 5. It is gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Like,
I can't wait to see this.
I can't wait for it to break my laptop.
Everything will be on fire.
Yeah.
And I don't care because I'm not turning the graphics down.
No.
Doesn't matter. I'll buy a new card.
Yeah, like I've actually been contemplating buying a new laptop.
For this?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
I'm on vacation next week, and my old laptop is kind of a turd. And so, like, it's a hard trigger pull. But I kind of want to buy a new laptop.
What are you thinking of again?
Just something with like a 4060 or a 4070 in it. Nothing crazy, because I
Okay.
don't use it a lot. But I don't use a laptop a lot, but when I do use it, it's like,
You want it to perform similar.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I have a 10. No, I have a 1360 in my car, 1360 Ti, I think. Something like that. It's a weird card I have in mind. And yeah, because it was in between the 10 series and the 20 series. Like, it's old. And it struggles with Elden Ring. And I know I'll be away this week. Like, I'm going to be playing the first Descendant. Like, and I want it on something, like, good. And I figure my laptop is not going to handle that game.
I think somebody just posted the requirements. Please hold.
While your call is being transferred.
Yeah, so the minimum PC requirements is going to be Intel i5 for the CPU, and the GPU it recommends a 1050 Ti or better with 8 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, so it barely hits the mark.
Yeah, recommended is 2060. So
Exactly. So
Yeah.
recommended is medium quality.
yeah, no particles.
Right. And everybody wants particles.
That's why I'm playing this game. Have you ever played a Korean MMO before from Nexon?
No, only the original beta for this game.
Okay. Dude, I don't know what it is, but anything that comes out of Nexon Studios is just gorgeous. Like, when Vindictus Defying Fate comes out, I'll be playing that forever. If I ever get a date, who knows? But just like the mechanics, the actual visuals of combat mechanics is incredible. So I can't wait to see this game. I don't know. So kind of going back to our original topic of should games have an easy mode, do you think games have gotten too difficult recently? Because it's not a surprise that when we talk about things that are coming from like the NES or, you know, the Atari, like video games themselves have gotten more challenging as time goes on.
Yeah.
Do you think we've hit a plateau where games like Elden Ring are getting too hard?
I'm thinking about what you're saying. Do I think they're too hard? No, I think we're getting older.
You don't... Okay. So you think the younger generation has no problem with these games?
Well, I'm not saying everybody doesn't have problems with these games, but I think their reaction times are better than ours, and I think it does make it easier.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know?
But, like, look, let's say Castlevania, right? We're going to bring up Castlevania.
Sure.
If you gave it to a 15-year-old now, and let's say they enjoyed the content, you know, whatever it is, how quickly do you think they would shred through that game?
It just depends on the person.
A normal Fortnite every other day teenager. Give him 15 minutes to figure out the controls.
See, that's really hard for me to answer.
I think that he would absolutely shred through, or he or she or they would absolutely obliterate the game and make us look like fools. Because I think games have gotten at a baseline level harder as time has gone on. And that's taking away the fact that I know that I've gotten worse at video games because I go back and I'll play Halo 3 and I'm dog at Halo 3. But I was so good when I was a teenager.
Well, I think as you get older, I think you do your reaction times do go down. I do believe that.
That's completely proven. Unless you train it.
Right. So I think do I think a younger person does a younger person have better reaction time? Absolutely. Does it make that much of a difference in an MMO or Elden Ring? I don't think so. But in like a first person shooter, for sure does.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if I answered it correctly, but that's pretty much where I'm at with everything.
Okay. Just stuff to think about.
Yeah, I believe certain things should have an easy mode, and there's certain games that don't need it.
Story-based, easy mode necessary.
Yes, because there's people that want to just play the story. A game like Elden Ring where it's got an awesome story, but like you really have to hunt for it, I don't think those games are meant to not have an easy mode. I think if that game had an easy mode, it wouldn't be that great of a game.
Okay.
Are you ready, Fetta?
Are you ready for working class questions?
It's working class questions.
We only got a couple this week, but they are fantastic.
I'll say the first one because I wrote this. I read this, or I watched a TikTok that said this, and it fucking hit. And I actually wrote in the notes that this one hits deep. Okay, Fetta, you have 24 hours to go back in time and relive any game of your choosing with a fresh memory. What game are you picking?
So I put a lot of thought behind this because I've had the time to think about it. It's got to be Metroid Prime.
Well,
That
why?
game, it was just life-changing for me. I mean, first off, it was the first time a Metroid game was moved to first person. But it really got you deep into the lore of the Metroid world with the whole aspect of the visor scanning and figuring out everything that happened to Samus in her past life kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I also just remember some of the bosses, like, oh, if I could go back and live through those for the first time. And like, for anybody who hasn't played Metroid Prime that came out on the GameCube, you land on the outside of this Galactic Federation ship that was sending out a distress signal, and you go in and you figure out that something eventually went bad. And they were harboring some parasites. It was a biolab. Obviously, you could read between the lines here. Something got out, killed everyone. But the final boss of this ship was the Queen Parasite. And with the music playing in the background, what I wouldn't give to go experience that again for the first time. I think that's it for me. And then you got to escape the exploding ship.
Right.
So cool. Do you have a game?
I'm thinking about what you're saying. And that's such a good description. So I have two, and I can't not pick two. The first one is Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
When that came out for the PlayStation 1, I remember playing it with my friend Rick G. And we played 80-something hours. Like, it was snowing, or I don't remember when we played it, but, like, it was like a snowstorm. And I was stuck at his parents' house.
Yep.
And when you're going through a game that's that long, like, you're playing it and you get tired and you take a nap and you wake up and you keep playing it. Like, that's something that I would really love to relive, that moment of just hanging out with your buddy, because, like, it's going to sound sappy, but, like, you don't realize that, like, there's going to be one of those times where it's the last time you have a sleepover with your buddy because it's a snowstorm and you play fucking Final Fantasy VII for 80 hours. And you eat popcorn and you just fucking sleep on the couch and sleep in a sleeping bag, and you get itchy because of fucking, you're like dirty and you don't sleep for a shower for 2 days. Like when you're a kid, you don't realize those are the times.
No, you really don't.
And then you're an adult and you're like, man, I fucking remember that shit. Like 80 hours, 3 days of fucking Final Fantasy VII. And then the other game, believe it or not, is another childhood game, is NHLPA 94 Super Nintendo.
Oh my God.
And that's back in the day where, like, you had two controllers and there was like 10 of your buddies playing it after school, and like there was a glitch where you could do wraparound goals and just score as much as you want, and it was known in the neighborhood, if you do that you get kicked out, you're banned for the day.
Oh my God.
So, like, there was no wraparound goals
in the penalty
allowed.
Box.
Yes. And, like, the amount of screaming and yelling and, like, who's going to be the Bruins, or I remember back then the Blackhawks were the best team. And I would say those two stick out more because as an adult playing, like, Mass Effect 2, like, the story is amazing, but those aren't the memories for me.
No, it's everything that kind of builds around the game. I
Yes.
get that. I get what you're saying.
It's just like a sidebar of that is my favorite Super Bowl ever is the first time the Patriots played the Eagles. I watched it with my buddy Rick G. We ate in his kitchen, and the TV was a 13-inch LCD. And that's how we watched the game. We just chowed food, drank beer, and fucking screamed at this little ass TV. He had a giant TV in the other room, but we loved it. That's still to this day the best Super Bowl ever for me.
Damn, you got me thinking all nostalgic now.
Yeah, but that's how, like, you think about it. And like what you were saying about, like, the first person view in a Metroid game, like, that's pretty fucking epic.
Yep.
Especially for somebody who loves Metroid.
Yeah, it was life-changing.
Right.
It was life-changing. And it was my dad's favorite game growing up, too. So, because he's not that much older than I am. I mean, he is, but, I mean, he's not like 40 years older than I am. He's 20 years older than I am. So, he played on the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Super NES. And then when he came to GameCube, we played that together. So, it's that, too. I think that's why that series holds a lot to me. And the fourth one's coming out.
I know. They just announced that.
Yeah, buddy. That was the whole 40 minutes I sat through that Nintendo Direct. And it was worth it.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I think I stole Duff's question, but Duff asks, have games actually gotten harder or easier over the years? If you can respond from the oldest to the youngest. So, Marcus, that means you're going first.
Ha! Have they gotten harder? I think yes. I think in general sense, they've gotten more, I don't know if harder is the word or just more complicated. Because they can do so much more with the game. Like, you can grapple up and you can climb a wall and you can knife somebody, but you can also shoot somebody. You can shoot a bow and arrow. You can use a healing potion. You can jump. You can double jump. I think there's so many. Oh, you can roll. I think there's so many varieties of things you can do that naturally games are harder today than they were then.
No, I agree fully. And I think a lot of it has to do with those technological advances. Like, look at how many buttons are on an Xbox One controller versus the Atari joystick, you know? It's going to get harder as we get better. And have you ever tried to play a VR game that wasn't like, ooh, it's cool because I'm in VR, but like a competitive one?
No.
It's impossible. I can't do it. Like shooters in VR where you have to walk around. First off, I throw up almost every time, but some people have gotten really good at those games, and I can't do it.
Okay, can I ask a sidebar?
Yeah.
Have you seen anybody with the Apple Vision Pro yet?
Not in person.
Oh my God, dude, I've seen like 10 people walking around with it on. And I'm just like, I know that's the future. Of people just wearing those things everywhere.
Dude, I can't wait till we get the floating chairs from Wall-E. That's what I'm waiting for. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Wargus says, it's a long one. Question for all. Do you actually enjoy super challenging games that take 10 tries or more to get past a boss section? Or do you feel that at a certain point a game is just wasting your time, i.e. being super hard just for the sake of being hard? I feel like it's a very fine line. I don't want everything to be a pushover, but I am not the type of gamer who, when it takes 22 tries to beat the final shape last mission on Legend solo and feel good accomplished about beating it, I just feel like, well, that sucked, but thankfully I got lucky and got past it.
I think we know your answer.
Actually, I don't know if you do.
Really?
I think it sucks ass when I have to fight a boss 20 times.
Okay.
But I believe that there's a reason that you have to learn the dance. Now, I do believe there is a point where a game is just being difficult to be difficult. and I know what he's talking about in the final shape last mission. It sucks ass. Like, it sucks.
Just
It's not,
to suck?
Yeah, it sucks just to suck because they needed it to be an epic climax.
I will admit, getting through a very challenging section is some of the most like rewarding feelings you could get in life.
Yes.
But man, I can't do the challenging games. I it's not for me. I'd rather go do something else. Actively, I will put down the controller and go do something else.
Sometimes I have to.
No, I know, but like for example, a lot of my buddies play League of Legends, right?
Oh.
Toxic game, not good, yada yada. Been around for a long time. I played it when I was in high school. Never really good at it, but I tried to jump back into it recently, and God, was it a nightmare. I just can't do it. And it's the reason it's challenging is because I don't have the time to devote to it. I don't have the knowledge of the game or the skill set. But I mean, in the same instance, it's too challenging for me as it sits right now, and I don't think it's worth it.
Damn. I can't disagree with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get it. And that's the hardest part, right? Like you Yeah.
It's just tough. It's just tough. Speaking of tough, Atrax. He asks us, which has the highest potential to be the most difficult? Tabletop games or video games?
Tabletop.
Yeah, it's not even a question, buddy. I feel like a lot of video games give you a little bit of room for error. And some tabletop games are way too intense that if you're even a millimeter off, you're toast.
Well, I think, too, video games are very, I'm going to use the word inclusive. Like, they're very inclusive, intuitive. They want you to learn how to play it. A tabletop game, you have to, like, study how to play it. Because there's so many rules. Like, you can't get through. You're not moving like a video game character. You're moving a little character, like a mini, 2 inches at a time. And every piece of that movement has a reason. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot more interpretation that you have to have in order to get through that.
I also think that a lot of the time it's not only about knowing how your team works and how you're supposed to make your team move, but it's a lot about knowing what the other person has on the other side of the table.
Sure.
Whereas in a video game, I feel like you don't necessarily have to really know what your opponent is doing.
Right.
But maybe in games like StarCraft, you do. I'm not sure. But the bulk of video games that I've played recently, you don't have to have that knowledge of the game to do well. And I think that seals it for me.
Yeah. I definitely think tabletop games are harder.
Yeah. And one last plug. In the beginning of the show, we talked, or not in the beginning, but earlier in the show, we talked about the First Descendant. I'm going to ask that anybody who's listening goes to the YouTube page and subscribes to the Working Class Nerds podcast, because we are trying to get on the Nexon creators list. Any sub, any like, any interaction in the channel helps us on that path to being content creators for this game officially. We are so excited about it, and we hope that you can all join the community and be a part of it too.
What are you guys talking about in here?
Find out next episode of Working Class Nerds.